Welcome back to the Journeys in Business series. I'm Jess, owner of Jess Creatives, and in this series, I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to hear about their journeys in business and lessons they have learned. Hey Rachel, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun to be here.
Yeah, so to get us started, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Well, my name is Allene Heckmann. I am the owner and creative stylist over at Allene. It's an online product shop that sells goods and services to the creative, joyful, and inspired dreamer. And I also am selling business resources for women who want to be empowered and live bravely through their social media reach for their business.
I love it. So articulate too.
Oh, thanks.
So how did you get started with this?
So my start to being an entrepreneur is a little bit non-traditional. Not that we all have our own story, which I think is really cool and awesome. But my story, I feel like, is a little bit different than some people. I didn't really have a plan. I just, long story short, but basically quit my job and then decided to start a business. Well, I had decided to start a business, but didn't start doing anything until I quit my job. So I actually started out with my business being half photography and half calligraphy. And it was mainly just getting clients, whoever I could get. So that was a lot of like family friends who saw me posting about it on Facebook, or my mom who wanted a print for her friend's birthday and needed a hand-lettered quote. And that's kind of where it started. And so I feel like the first year of my business was really not a lot of direction, just doing projects that came my way. I focused a lot on trying to grow my Instagram following and started to see that lettering was a little bit more of what I was into, and photography I loved it, and I use photography in my business, but I didn't really necessarily want photography clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that first year was just kind of figuring out what I was doing, and I think a lot of people do that while they still have a job, which is, if that works for you, that's awesome. I'm just not that type of person. I can't be spread that thin. I need margin in my life.
Yeah.
In order to be productive. If I am doing too much, then I can't really do anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really important to fully jump into entrepreneurship, and that gave me the freedom to work a lot on educating myself and reading blog posts and listening to podcasts and really learning about the entrepreneurial business side of owning a business rather than, and also working on my craft.
Right.
So that's a huge blessing. That really worked for our family. My husband was in a place where if I didn't bring in any money, he could support us. And I know that not everyone has that luxury, so I don't take that for granted. But that was kind of where I started. And then about a year in, things kind of shifted, and I started doing a little bit more product online stuff. So I started selling mugs in December of 2015. And that's kind of where it took the first shift in my business of products. And I didn't really realize that people would want that. And it was really hard at the beginning. You don't really realize how much things cost to produce or to ship, or that you need to pay for bubble wrap too. And you need a printer to print out shipping labels. And that was a big transition and really big learning curve for me. And then probably about 8 to 10 months later after that, a new shift kind of started in my business, which is more the educational side of my business. So I'm kind of now splitting my time between the online product shop and also working on business resources and educating entrepreneurs about multiple things, but mainly about how to run a business that is heartfelt and honest and vulnerable, but also profitable. And then I also have some stuff about product shop owners too.
I love it. I love it. That's so, it is, I think, more rare, like you said, to hear of people who quit their job and then start doing something. But I think it's really brave. And I also think it's great that you realized, I need the margin. I'm not going to operate as well if I'm overwhelmed, and which I think that's a lot that happens for a lot of us, but
Mm-hmm.
some of us don't create that much margin. We are still like, I need margin, but I don't
Yeah.
really have it as much as I want.
Yeah. And I
So,
feel like right now in my life is where I'm like, I don't have a ton of margin. And there's different seasons of life where you have
yeah.
different schedules. But for me, just starting the business, I knew I couldn't try. I'm just not a like side hustle person where I work until 2:00 in the morning. Like I just can't
Nope.
function like that. Some people, they can totally do it. I don't know if it's necessarily the healthiest
No.
option.
Mm-mm.
But I literally just can't function like that. So it wasn't
Yeah.
really an option for me.
You're like, nope, not for me.
Right.
So what prompted you to kind of create this, second branch of the heartfelt, intentional side of like teaching that to other entrepreneurs?
I started to really pay attention to what people were asking me
Mm.
and realizing that I was getting a lot of emails and I was getting messages on Instagram or things like that where people were asking for really similar type of feedback or content from me. And it kind of hit me, it dawned on me, I guess. And I do kind of have more of a business mind. I love the creative side, but I also love the business side. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's something that I really love doing. So it kind of hit me like, oh, this is something that people are wanting from me. And not in a like, I want to make money in every single way because I give away a lot of free content.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing that you have to listen to your audience. And if your audience is asking for something from you, then like give it to them. And
Yeah.
my audience was wanting to learn from me about how to grow a heartfelt Instagram or how to use Instagram or social media to be yourself, but also run a business. Because I think sometimes people think that those have to be, you have one or the other.
Mm.
So
And
you're
it's not.
either running a really profitable business and you're hiding behind your stress or you're hiding your stress or you're hiding your overwhelm, but your business is profiting, or you're like a super raw, authentic feed, but you don't make any money. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can have both. And so that's kind of what I've tried to help creative entrepreneurs do and just help them strategize, because every business is different. There definitely is content that I can tell you over and over again that works for all different types of businesses. But I also love working one-on-one with entrepreneurs because then we get to really dig deep into their business and say like, okay, let's take this strategy and then dig deeper into that strategy to make it fit your business and your brand. So that's
Yeah.
always really fun for me too.
Oh, I love it. So much fun stuff. And I think it's really cool that you paid attention and instead of just being like, well, that like here's your answers, like you actually acted on it and you're implementing it in your business. Because I think it's going to be super helpful for a lot of entrepreneurs. Because I mean, you've already had several people ask you about it. So there's got to be tons more out there who are thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So,
And I think a note to people, maybe if you feel like, oh, people ask me this, I think that there can sometimes be the response of like annoyance of like, I've done the hard work, stop asking me.
mm,
But also maybe try and realize that the fact that multiple people are asking you the same thing is showcasing that you're a leader and people look up to you and they want to learn from you.
mm-hmm,
And that's an opportunity for you to step into a gifting or step into a new profit source, a revenue source. Because I think there are times when I'm like, stop asking me where I buy my mugs. Like I did the hard work to figure out
mm-hmm.
the best thing for me to how I'm going to sell my mugs. And I lost money because of it. And so instead of, I mean, yeah, I can protect that information, but instead of just getting annoyed, then like maybe I can create a service and then I
Mm-hmm.
can help people who actually want to invest in me, which means they're more invested in their business.
Yep.
Which means they're not just going to take this information and then give it away to everyone.
Right.
So there's ways to, see these patterns in your business to step in, maybe take risks or be brave for yourself, but then also serve the industry and give back, which is, I think, really important.
Yeah, love that. So, what is your favorite part about all this different stuff that you get to do?
I have multiple favorite parts. I think it's hard to fully pick one.
Yes.
I'll give it a few. Um, I'm a really relational person. My love language is quality time. So I love learning about people. I love being with people. And as an entrepreneur who works at home alone, that can be isolating at times. And so what I love about the business that I'm running is that I do get to connect with so many entrepreneurs, and that I
Mm-hmm.
made these friendships online with people I've never met in person and consider them some of my closest friends. And that just the fact that through being an honest individual on my social media has opened up new friendships for me is just, it's so cool. And I love that about, I mean, I definitely see a lot of downsides about social media, and sometimes it frustrates me, but there is also this really beautiful aspect that I am able to connect and pour into or learn from or grow from experiences by connecting with people that I'll never meet in person, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a huge blessing. And it's just, I mean, also it makes me able to run a business. So
Right.
I'm very grateful for that. And then I love working with women and seeing them be brave with their businesses and take risks and not staying in the comfortable places, but maybe doing something that no one else is doing, which I think those are the spots that's really where we see our success,
Yeah.
is because no one else is doing it. But there's this weird subconscious thing in our mind that we think that no one else is doing it, and so I shouldn't do it because my story has to look like everybody else's story. And that's actually super detrimental to our business, because if no one else is doing it and you do it, then you're the only one who's doing it and
Yep.
you don't have competition.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that step can be really scary. I mean, it was scary for me. There's things I've done that have been really scary that have failed and that haven't failed. And I love to, when I get to talk to women and encourage them to like, take that risk, do that thing that scares you. And then when they come back and say like, this happened and I'm feeling really empowered, and I never knew like I was capable of this. That is just, that brings me so much joy and satisfaction, and that's really why I do what I do. It's not always about a paycheck. So
Yeah, it's really cool to, like, no matter what kind of or how big of a risk, I think it's really cool to, like, not that I like coach people or anything, but like, you know, business friends, I'll like encourage them, like, just try it, like, take a step of faith, like, take that risk, try
mm-hmm.
it, you know, like, I think it would be super good for your business. And then they do, and then they're like, oh, like, this
Right.
was awesome. And I'm like, yes, like, see, like I told you, if you just tried it, it would, you know, I didn't promise that it would work out, but
Right.
like, I just had a feeling that it would be good. So I think it's, and I mean, that's part of being an entrepreneur, is kind of taking risk
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's also one of the hardest parts, is knowing which risks to take and which ones to be like, okay, this is actually a bad idea. Like, this is
Right.
not a risk I should take part in. But yeah,
But
it's always,
if you do take that risk that maybe wasn't the best idea, you always learn from it.
yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
makes you better at taking risks. And so then you know the next time, like, oh, no, that's not the risk I want to take. It's
Yep.
this one.
Mm-hmm.
Nail it. So I think we can sometimes get stuck in the like, oh, is this the right risk? And then we don't take the risks.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take them. And take it from me, I failed multiple times. So
Ditto.
it's okay to
Ditto.
fail. Totally okay to fail.
Yes. If anything, you get, you know, that little 6 things I learned from failing blog
Yeah,
posts that you can put out later.
totally.
But yeah, I mean, it's just there's like a fine line that you have to walk between, like,
Yeah,
being too scared and holding yourself back, and then taking a risk and not being afraid of failure, because you learn something or you have a huge success.
right.
So, yeah. So what is your big why in your business?
My biggest why is to empower and encourage women. So that, because I have different sides of my business, like my product shop, I'm not only serving entrepreneurs. So I serve moms and grandmas and my mom's friends and my girlfriends. And so there's a big age range that my products can serve. And so my goal is always to empower or encourage people through the products that I create and inspire creativity and joy. So not every single mug or print or product that I create is a super deep quote, but I always hope to inspire some sort of creativity or joy in that, or make someone feel empowered or encouraged through having the product in their hand.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's cool that you have that kind of fun creativity side to it. Like it's not everything has to be about like this deep inspiration, motivation, like, because I mean, we're still people, we still have, you know, this creativity, this fun side. Like we need that little spark of joy in our day, which you're bringing to people, and so that's super awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
So if you could go back to your first week or your first month of being in your business and tell yourself something to kind of prepare for this road ahead, what would you tell yourself?
I think, well, we all know I didn't have a super traditional start. So in that, I really vividly remember that time of life. And I think I wish I would have known that it's good for businesses to change over time and morph. Because in the last year, probably there have been a lot of shifts in my business, and the initial shift can be really scary because you're like, wait a second,
what's
where's
going on?
this revenue going to come from? I don't know how this is going to work. And that can be really scary. And so I wish that I had known that that's really natural, that where businesses start is not where they will be in a year or 2 years or 5 years. And that's totally okay. And that's good. You actually want that, because the business that I was running when I started is it's nothing really.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to be there anymore. But I think when you start out, you're like, okay, I'm going to write my mission statement and my vision statement and my goals. And you want to stick to those and you want to achieve them. And then if it starts to shift, it can kind of feel like I'm like not running the right business. And I wish I would have known that it's okay for things to change. It's okay for my bio, my, Rachel Allene bio that I send to people need to be edited all the time. Like that's good. That's okay. That means I'm changing and I'm morphing to what my audience wants or what my audience needs, so I can meet their needs and encourage them. And I didn't know that from the beginning. I actually really hate change. I'm not someone who thrives with change. It kind of paralyzes me. So I wish I had known in the beginning, like, hey, when you start a business, changes are going to come and they're going to come often, and it's actually good. And I think that would have helped me it would have saved me a couple tearful phone calls to my mom.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it is hard to kind of go through the changes, but do you feel like you said, like, obviously you said how your business was when you first started is no longer, but like, do you feel like it's actually, these changes have made you happier with your business?
Definitely. Oh yeah. I mean, it's way better than I could have ever imagined. And the business that I was running then wasn't profitable in the way that I can be profitable now. And I didn't have an audience. And I actually find a lot more satisfaction out of doing what I do now. So I'm super grateful for the changes, because it's only gotten better. There's those moments where it's like the valley and you're like, okay, I'm ready to come back up. But those that you get out of it and you recover. And I think a key, I was talking to someone yesterday, I think, about how a big part of success for running your own business is knowing how to not give up. And I think a lot of businesses fail because people realize, like, either a big change happens or a failure happens, and they're like, well, that's it, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not supposed to do this. And you have to keep trudging. There are those moments, if there's a financial issue or a family issue or something, and you know that it's not the right thing for you anymore. But I think a lot of times it's right when people quit is right before there's something big is coming.
Yep.
And if you can push through and you can press on, you'll have that aha moment and things will really change. And then maybe you'll be in the business that you're running. So I
Yeah.
always want people to press through those hard times. And I think a big part of that is having a support system. Like my husband is super, super supportive of my business, probably more confident in it than I am,
Same here.
which is great.
Yes. I'm like, yay, husband. Because
Right.
sometimes I'm like, he'll come home and I'm like, like, I don't know. He's like, no, like, we got this. He'll like give me a pep talk. Like, there's been a few times lately because he just always kind of does it on his own. Like, I won't ask for advice or, whatever. But lately there's been some times where I'm like, okay, I need one of those like Just Creative's pep talks. And he's like, what? And then I try and force it. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, those moments when you come home and I'm like having a bad day or questioning things. And then you give me this like push and I feel like all energized again. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, fine. Okay. Like, I'll just try and remember what you said last time.
Yeah.
But it does help to have like awesome husbands and
or family or moms or sisters or brothers.
Yes.
You need that to call them up and be like, okay, I think I might quit today. Make me not quit.
Yes, talk me off the ledge.
Yeah, so that's really helpful because our own, we can be our worst critic and our biggest enemy.
Yeah.
So you got to have people around you that are cheering for you, which is another reason to be honest and vulnerable on social media. So you have online friends too.
Yes, online friends are the best. And masterminds, coffee chats, all that. It's so cool to like meet people that you've only like ever known online. Like a few months ago, I went to a retreat with mastermind ladies that I'd never met in person. Like we've talked online for 2 years.
Wow.
And like finally met, and some of them had met in person, but I hadn't. And there's been times I've flown across the country and stayed with online friends, like at their house, having never met them in person before. Like,
I know, it's so
like,
weird.
Okay, like, I hope you actually like me in person because I'm staying at your house for 3 days. Like,
but it's like you already know them.
Yeah,
so
like it's just,
weird.
Yeah, and I mean, I went to Vegas last year because one of my friends lives there, and my husband was with me, and we crashed at her house, and my husband was just like, I cannot believe, like, it's hard, it's weird to think about the fact that you guys have never met before, because like looking at how you guys interact and like talk, you would think that you guys have been friends forever and like hung out all the time, but no, this is the very first time that you're meeting. But it's like one of my favorite parts of being an entrepreneur is like I could go to any city pretty much, and probably if I don't know someone, I could probably like post in a Facebook group somewhere and be like,
and you'd find someone.
Hey, like I'm in this city, who's here? Like be able to find somebody. So that makes it so much fun.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So if you were starting your business over tomorrow, what would you do differently?
I think I would set myself up for a little bit more success, but you can only really know this on the other side. I remember like knowing I needed business systems, but not having any idea of what that meant.
Yeah. So
I wish I would have had time to have more systems in place where I knew that like, okay, I want to start a mailing list and have more of like the back end type stuff figured out. Just because it's the farther you get along, the more complicated it is.
Yes.
To start something new or to transfer from one platform to the other.
Oh my gosh.
So I just wish I had known more about what all that it takes to run a business, and that I could set those systems up beforehand.
Yeah, man, I talk about switching platforms. Like I've switched project management tools like 3 times. And like every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go through this again. Like, what am I, and but every time like it gets better. But
Right.
it's like, this would be so much easier if I'd like found this first
Yeah.
instead of like, and then it's like some client projects drag on, and so I'm like, well, I don't want to move them mid project
Yeah.
unless I'm like paying for the service or whatever.
Mhm.
So like I still have one client who's in Asana.
Okay.
just because I'm like, well, I don't want to move her again, and like we're
Right.
almost done, so like there's no point. So I'm like, okay, so I have this client over here and
Oh,
this
that's so
and it's like,
confusing.
I know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wish I had like just found this and skipped over Asana.
Right.
But yeah, setting up those systems is really key. Like I didn't have any systems really whenever I very, very early in my business. Luckily, I had like a tiny bit of systems when I went full time. But like even when I went full time, I wasn't using a project management software. So I was just emailing all my clients for everything.
Oh, wow.
And like for websites and logos, like I remember one of my client threads, email threads, was like 100. Like the Gmail indicator said 100, and I was like, that was the moment that I was like, no more.
Yeah.
I'm
Something needs to change.
I am like getting project management because searching through 100 emails to like,
Yeah.
what was
That's
that
insane.
color? What was like, what did she say she wanted on this? And all that. I was like, no. So if anyone listening has 100 emails in one thread, get get
Time for
out of
something
that.
to change.
Yes. But yeah. So systems definitely a good thing to set up early
Yeah,
on in your business.
definitely.
So what are you working on for the rest of 2017?
Well, I am working on growing a human, first of all.
Yes.
So I am due with a baby boy in July. So that kind of changes the second half of my year. I still plan to work, but it's going to be a little bit different. So until then, I am providing resources for product shop owners. So I have this whole guide to success for product shop owners. And it is all my secrets about how to launch a product, which launch strategy is really important. And so it dives into launching, but it also helps you figure out what platform you want to sell on. So if you want to do Etsy, or if you want to have your own shop through Shopify or Squarespace, and when to pick that and how to pick that. I talk about how to decide what product you want to sell and how to realize that selling a product is fixing a problem for your client and why that's important. And then I also offer all of my top picks for retailers and where I source my products. So where I buy my mugs when I order them, and tumblers and tote bags and things like that. So that's, super awesome information.
Yeah.
And if you want your hands on that, that whole guide is called the Product Shop Guru's Guide to Success, and that it can be found on my website. And then I also have an online challenge that you can participate in at any time. And this is for business owners who are wanting to really grow their Instagram feed or just online presence in a heartfelt way and be brave and share about themselves, which we've talked about a lot today. And that's called the Heartfelt Grid. So that's also on my website, and you can sign up for that. And then you'll just get emails every day. It was a 5-day challenge. So you'll get 5 emails every day for 5 days in a row, and it'll just prompt you for what to post on Instagram and how to interact with your audience for that day. And then I also, to take that a step further, offer a whole guide to running a heartfelt business and how to do that, from how to start a hashtag movement, how to connect with your ideal audience, how to find your ideal audience, how to use Instagram stories to grow your business, all that and so much more is in that guide. So those are kind of my biggest business resources right now. And then I always have launches for new products. So I'll do some summer products, and then in the fall that's when we have our biggest push for products. So
Oh my
Hang
gosh.
around for the fall because everybody's ready for their pumpkin spice lattes in the
Yes.
fall. And we have lots of cozy products coming for that. So that'll be really fun too.
Oh my gosh, so much goodness. So where can we connect with you online and on social media?
So my website is rachelalene.com, and Allene is my middle name. I know some people think my last name it's Rachel Allen, but my middle name is Allene, just so you know if you're wondering. So that is spelled Allene. So that's rachelalene.com, and that's where you can find the Heartfelt Grid and the Product Shop Guru's Guide to Success. And you can also find my online shop there. So that's where most of the stuff is. And then on Instagram, I am at Rachel_Allene. So, but all of that can also be found on my website. So my website is maybe the best place to go.
Awesome. This was so fun. Thank you so
I
much
know,
for
thanks
chatting
for
with me today.
having me. It was
Yes.
awesome.